Okay. So the recording is started for Zoom. I've had the simple screen recorder running on Anonymous Coward already. These meetings are recorded. Anybody on the internet that is in the meeting can record the meeting, so there's no privacy here. Whatever goes on in Las Vegas gets up on the internet. I can vouch for that. All right.
Which we can say is not unique to our meeting. I mean, basically, anytime
right.
you go on a Zoom meeting or video chat with anyone, you got to presume the other people at the other end can be recording.
St. Louis Linux Lug, just like Las Vegas. That's what I'm hearing.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
What is said in the lug stays in the lug. Yeah.
Jonathan Drews has joined. Hi, Jonathan. We have two Jonathans tonight. Jonathan,
how's it going, Stan? Welcome.
Hey. Yeah, it's great to be here virtually. It's too hot to be anyplace else.
And since you started the official recording, this is Thursday, the 17th of June, 2021. It's the St. Louis Linux User Group meeting, the monthly meeting. And the topic tonight is migrating from MS Windows to Linux Mint, including not just your work, but also your games. And it's by Tyler Rudie from Siemens. And
before we get into that, we have some administrative things to cover, I guess, right?
Yes.
Announcements?
The first step is to remember what it was we were going to cover. No. Yes, announcements.
Yeah. Let's see. As the sequence of events, I'd like to go over, I'd like to point out the SLAC meeting, St. Louis Area Computer Club meeting, is on the first Thursday of each month, mostly. The general meeting, which has base and main topic presentation, is on the second Wednesday of the month. Then the following Thursday is this meeting, the St. Louis Linux Users Group. And it usually works out to, 8 days following that. And then the following week after that is the newcomer meeting, normally, which normally works out, the Linux meeting normally works out to be either the third or the fourth Thursday of the month. We try not to make it back to back with the general meeting because it's sometimes a calendar fall that way. So we switched to making sure that it's just 8 days later, generally. And then the newcomer meeting is always been the fourth Tuesday of the month. That works out to be 5 days later than this meeting. And the only exception is has been in the past during the holiday seasons in December. But anymore, I think it still kind of works out to be the fourth Tuesday. So that's the sequence of events. Those meetings are semi-independent. Well, they are independent. They're supported by this group. In the past, the SLAC meeting and the newcomer meeting, the room fees at where they met at the libraries have been paid for by the St. Louis Linux Users Group as an umbrella group supporting the education of people everywhere to the fact that there's computer stuff out there. I'm trying to make sure there's no dead air here, Gary. Say something.
Okay, you're doing such a good job. So let's see. One quick note for those of you who haven't been there before. The general meeting, as Stan was suggesting, it's a two-part. There's usually about a 20 to minute, half hour. We call it either a basic or tutorial session on the front. Then the announcements, some general questions, answers, and then a main presentation in the back end of the meeting. We call it our Oreo cookie design. The Vishy stuff is in the middle, separated by the two, or surrounded by the two talks. So it's a little different than tonight's structure. So other announcements, let's see. I don't think there's anything particular unless Lee, you have any thoughts on any announcements?
Not that I can think of, Gary.
Okay. Let's see. we'll go to general Q&A in a second. I got a couple of just calendar type announcements. Let's see, who brought that front page? Is that Stan who brought up the page?
Anonymous Coward brought it up, as a matter of fact.
Okay. I can bring, do you want me to bring up the calendar, or you want to bring up the calendar?
Give me a minute and I'll find the buttons. I'll bring it up.
Okay. Today's date, and nobody ever came up with any details for me. This is the 75th anniversary today of the first mobile telephone call, and the only data I found on it was that it was done here in St. Louis, and it was done by people from AT&T/Southwestern Bell. But I haven't been able to find out, what streetcar did it happen on? What were the names of the engineers involved? How did it go? Are any of them still alive? So I thought for the 75th anniversary, I did talk to some people at AT&T, and amazingly, nobody in the local AT&T offices, the ones I talked to, had heard anything about it. So this was news to them. So I guess we live with that. Let's see, other things coming up this next week. Actually, since Stan said we only do Linux stuff tonight, almost all Linux stuff, right? And, but actually, last Friday was a free BSD developers conference. Just curious, did anybody go to the BSD conference? Lee, as Lee stays quiet.
No, sorry, I had my mic muted. I'm trying to avoid a faux pas like last Wednesday.
Shit.
No, I didn't make it. I got too much other stuff going on right now, and quite frankly, most of the BSD stuff I'm doing is still on dedicated machines from 20 years ago.
All righty.
Because there's a lot of stuff you can't do with BSD nowadays.
Okay.
Gary, did you not see my post in the chat about the phone call, that it was probably a developer who took the cell phone home with him and lost it, and so he called it from his desk so he could find it and hear it ringing?
No, I did not see that in chat.
That makes too much sense.
It does. It's perfect. It's just perfect.
That's how I find my phone.
Oh gosh, I like it. Thank you, Sanford. Oh gosh.
There's a calendar.
There's
Yay.
the calendar. Yeah. Coming up next week, there is I believe it's a 2-day Postgres conference. I think that's Tuesday and Wednesday. Let's see. Oh, why is that so blurry?
That's your piece of crap Apple.
Probably. Could be just my eyes. So. Okay, let's see. What else? There's something else we can mention for next week. There's on Tuesday, there's a GitOps summit, which sounds like it's the use of the Git tool in a DevOps type environment. It's a 1-day conference. I believe it's Tuesday. And let's see. I guess that's all of the big things coming up next week that I can think of. Let's see. Anything I missed?
Ooh, first day of summer.
There you go. Okay. Unless anybody else has anything else to talk about from the calendar, about the calendar, or other general announcements, we'll ask for general questions and answers. You can ask a question about anything. Of course, it's going to have a lot better chance of an answer if that's something to do with computers. So any general Q&A. Okay. If everybody's going to be shy, we can also pick up with any general questions after our main speaker tonight.
But before we go on, I'd like to ask the Jonathan. What was your the new Jonathan? What's your last name again?
Last name is Sheehan.
Okay. And how did you find out about our meeting?
Well, I moved here from Nashville pretty recently, and I was a member of the Nashville Linux users group there. And so I just thought I'd look around and see if there was something analogous here. And you guys have a pretty strong web presence, so it was easy to find.
Good. I presume some kind of search engine.
Yeah, I don't remember whether it was Alta Vista or it might have been that new one, Google.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
don't use that one. We use DuckDuckGo.
Or our start page, stuff like that. Okay.
Let's see. Since I came in, I don't know what all you explained, Stan. You mentioned that there's the new users group.
Yeah. That's going to be next week. And our supported groups appear as red on the calendars. So the St. Louis Linux user group is a red entry here. The newcomer group is a red entry. The main group, also the red entry. And when we have steering committee meetings, those are usually on usually they're Monday nights, unless there's some kind of holiday involved. We actually had this month's steering committee was on a Wednesday night, and like that. And it moves, and the calendar is relatively updated before anything else. And the instructions on how to get into these meetings, the Zoom meetings or whatever, I've been doing the STLLUG or the Slack meetings and the newcomer meetings. I've been using Jitsi because it's open source and I kind of like that. It's a little bit different, but if you haven't noticed by now, all the old timers know that I tend to start cussing on a lot of stuff. So people have to tell me to mute myself quite often. So, because every machine I've got looks different and it's a combination of whether I'm using Zoom and Jitsi or whether it's a tower or a laptop or which laptop. It's all, nothing is consistent. It really isn't. And I'm getting older by the minute and I get cranky sometimes. Rattle, rattle, rattle.
All righty. Not hearing any general questions. Maybe we should move on to the main presentation. And like I say, if anybody does think of any questions.
Gary,
Yes.
it's Jonathan Drews. I have a question. And I posted to the list. I got Corn Shell 93 running on this Linux laptop, but it's not the main shell. Is there any danger in switching shells? Because I see there's a whole bunch of scripts in my dot configuration files for Bash.
I won't say that there's danger. I was extremely aggravated the other day when some OS that I loaded, might have been Debian, they had made bin sh a symbolic link to bin zsh. And one of my scripts was running bin sh and it borked because it was expecting bash support. And the ZSH is not bash.
That's what I'm afraid of, Stanford.
So if your scripts are written to be POSIX compliant and the Corn Shell is POSIX compliant, there shouldn't be an issue. If they're also written with a good shebang, saying look for bash instead of just shell, if they're not POSIX compliant, you should be good.
They have the script especially call out pound bang bash instead of pound bang sh.
Yeah. The only way to really find out is either go through each of those scripts and check it with shell check by changing the shebang and having a check to see if it's all good, or just by changing your shell and see if anything breaks.
Okay, guys, thanks a lot. I'm going to just continue to have bash the login shell, and I'm not going to use the change shell command that the guys recommended on STLLUG Discuss.
I guess it would depend on where you're going to change it. In other words, I would not recommend that you change root's shell because all of the cron tabs or whatever are probably written for the shell that comes with the root.
Yeah, good work. No, this is strictly a user account thing.
That's what the user can make his shell anything he wants.
Okay.
Alrighty. And by the way, if we didn't mention that so far, the group also maintains something called the Discuss mail list. And you're all welcome to join that. Basically, it's kind of what we were just doing. You can post questions, comments, insights, you know, why I've seen smoke out of the back of my box. And it's just kind of a running mailing list. Sometimes, you know, something will just get a life of its own and really take off. And then other times there may not be a posting for days. But yeah, it's interesting to be there. And always find
We have
out.
a lot of crickets out there.
Yeah. So anyway, with that, like I say, we can pick up with more general Q and hopefully answers at the after Tyler's talk. But unless there's anything pressing, I think we'll move on to Tyler's talk. The talk this evening is migrating from an MS Windows desktop to the Linux Mint and keeping his games. It's by Tyler, who's been a member of our group for quite some time, been very active with the group. He managed to get his hands on a new Ryzen 5900X and rebuilt his workstation and figured, yeah, well, at the same time, he'll migrate over to Linux on that box. So he had to make sure all of the old Microsoft scripts that he needs for work were managed to be brought over. And then he also wanted to get his games brought over. So Steam, Epic Games, and some stuff from the good old game store. So he'll tell us all about his experiences. Tyler's a senior IT support engineer for Siemens Industry Software accounts. And his code touches all the user hires when they come on board. He spends his days abusing Python and PowerShell so he can take long naps at work. And so far, no luck. Management and co-workers seem to keep finding him. So anyway, he always manages to come up with good stuff for us as well as good stuff for work. So I'm going to turn it over to Tyler, and he's going to tell us how the migration went.
Thank you. You guys hear me okay?
Hear you fine.
All right. So, as what they said in the beginning, for some reason, I don't know how this happened, but our local micro center had the new 5900X processor in stock at an MSRP for some odd reason. So I decided to rebuild my desktop, and which reminded me of an old YouTube that this guy put out. I don't.
Still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. You guys, this guy called Technology Connections. I can't find it in this video, but one of his videos, he said he likes to get work done on his computer, not work on his computer.
Okay.
Something
Yeah,
about.
I think it was that video too.
So I wanted to know this time around, since I figured this computer would be sitting on the breadboard for a while. How well can I get work done on Linux instead of dealing with this nonsense that just popped up?
What is that?
Windows 11.
God help us.
That is a leaked preview ISO.
I'm curious as to how we're seeing Tyler's desktop when he's not sharing his desktop.
Because I'm running it through OBS, and the OBS is pushing it to a virtual camera.
Problem is that every time someone else speaks, your share minimizes.
It's away entirely.
Well,
Let me go ahead.
we could mute everybody except the speaker.
I don't even know how to do that.
Pin. How's that?
Let's see.
Is that
Am I replacing you? Can everyone still see Steve?
Nah,
No.
it's still jumping everybody else.
Until we figure out a way to do this, I would suggest that
Oh.
you share your desktop.
Yeah.
Well, what I did was I pinned Tyler's screen, and so that's the only one I'm seeing.
Oh, each user has to pin that screen. Okay.
How does
Yeah.
one do that?
Right click on it and say pin video.
I'm on a
I've,
phone. I don't have a mouse.
All right.
There's
You
no
should-
right
I see
click
his
on this thing.
desktop now.
let me move pin.
Well, it's not so much about you pinning as us pinning.
Yeah, I don't have any idea how to do that on a phone.
Oh man, Tyler got this system worked up just for us, and we see it and immediately say, "Go back, do it the other way."
But so, for the most part, a lot of what I work on is in web browsers. Working on my Unify system. Most of my hardware in the network is on that. So that was easy. Install my favorite browser, go on with life. And most of those are available either via or alternate repositories or the main apt get install whatever you need. And that's fairly simple. You just search install all the on Linux Mint, and they'll point you to a repository that has it in that you can install. This one uses Vivaldi's stable repository. The fun was, how do I get things that are graphically accelerated to run? Last time I did this in 2015, it was a royal pain in the rear end. This
Did it
time around,
ultimately work?
this time, yeah, if I twisted its arm. But this time, somehow I lucked out. So my VGA my graphics card showed up automatically with the standard Mesa drivers. And my multi-window setup within Linux Mint, they fixed this from the last time I tried, is fully customizable like I have on Windows. So I'll pop up with these colored display names on each that match the layout manager, and you just go from there. Some things like, okay, for example, I have OBS. OBS runs natively within Linux.
What is OBS? I'm sorry, I'm
Oh.
dumb.
Open Broadcaster Studio. So 90% of the people that you see streaming video games,
Yeah.
they're streaming via OBS. So I can create scenes and switch between them.
Okay.
Like you see in my camera. It's also supposed to control things like audio and stuff like that. Let's see here. So that's just been a process of digging through the internet and finding either replacements or the Linux version of that stuff. So here's my favorite editor that I write in Python with, PyCharm. I literally went out to their website.
Ah, I got your
Yeah.
desktop back. I don't know what I did to kill it, but I got it back, and I don't know what I did.
It just says, oh, you're on Ubuntu? Run sudo snap install PyCharm professional. And that's the next thing is there's a new thing called a snap store, which I've never ran into before, but it is making a weird mess of my disks. Don't know how, but
Basically, Snap is a independent package repository that includes all dependencies with a package.
That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, well, it does this. It makes a whole new device in your block devices just to store it. So that can be a little annoying.
Oh,
Everybody hates snaps. They like all the other types, app image, Flatpak, but not snap.
I don't like either of those. Run a
So-
rolling release distro like God intended.
Didn't we have a guy do a presentation on Snap about a year ago?
I don't think so.
I don't remember, but I don't remember anything. So
Okay, I'm just hallucinating again.
Yeah, Gary, look it up on the planning schedule. Last night I added all of 2019.
so for this part of fixing or building out my workstation, it's basically been using tools like Alternative 2 to put in the old application and go through and see if there's something that will run natively in Linux. So for example, I sometimes need to go and fix the MP3 tags after I download an album from Amazon. I normally use this thing called Tag Scanner from on Windows, but they have a whole bunch of things here that are supposed to run natively in Linux. So you just open one of these up, and I'll usually point to the application's website, and there's how to install it, which is adding this KID3 repo and then installing this Qt KID3 application. Fairly straightforward. Moving on to games. So with Steam, there's sudo app install Steam, and it drug all its dependencies along with it. The biggest thing that I ran into was when I got it set up, I had to come into the settings and enable the Steam Play for all other titles. This enables what Steam is calling Proton. So there is a ProtonDB website. So let's let's say, how well does Evil Genius 2 work on Linux? So they'll give it a rating, everything from bronze to platinum. And they're basically saying, okay, they were having some problems with the borderless. The launcher's a little bit mangled. But if you run it on Proton 6.8 and tell it to play in DX12 mode, it works just fine. So what you go do is you find the game here in the list properties, and under compatibility, I can tell it to run on a different version of Proton, depending on what game, and we launch. mini games, and I'll show this on another, on Borderlands 3.
Are all of these games going to be Steam games?
No, not all of them.
Okay.
I'm
keep
just
going.
I'm just starting with Steam.
Got it.
Oh, come on.
So the Steam games are web-based. I'm thinking, when I think of games, I'm thinking of the old DOS games and Windows 95 games where you're running on the host OS. You're talking about games that run in the web browser.
Nope. Steam is
Okay.
just a store, just like the Apple iTunes store. And of course, it's going to make a liar out of me.
Be glad you're not dealing with Sprint.
So when you go to the Steam store and you download a Steam game, you need a Steam engine, like almost as if it was Java or something. I mean, it needs a host engine
Right.
to run the game in.
So what's happened here is Proton is, and of course it would kick over to the wrong monitor.
But Proton is wine. It's just.
It's
Steam's
another version of
abbreviation.
Wine. It's
Yeah.
Proton.
Oh,
So basically, they're mimicking the DirectX 12 calls so that the game can play.
well, I've had poor success with Wine. So you're saying that
Sure.
Proton is new and improved Wine.
Yes.
Basically, it's Wine, but Steam or Valve has put a lot of their effort into getting it to work right.
Yeah. A lot of games are just install, click play, you go.
Let's see if I can get this thing to kick over to the right monitor. Skip the driver warning.
By the way, could you kick up the font size on the screen?
No, not really.
You need to
Okay.
get Gary a new pair of glasses or a
I have
bigger
There it
to
goes.
screen, a
Zoom,
bigger
Gary.
monitor.
Go up to view options, zoom, and maybe 150%.
Yeah, I'll do it that way.
We just need to get Gary a 51-inch TV.
4K monitor set to 3x zoom.
I mean, this works just like it would on Windows.
Is that a good
That's bad,
thing?
We are playing a guessing game here on.
What am I seeing?
Oh, just an evil layer that I built in this
Oh,
game. So the biggest issue I've seen, let me get out of this one, is textures. So I'm going to start up Borderlands 3 here and see if it'll pull the same stunt it does every time I run it. So it'll start this process called processing Vulkan shaders. So basically, this is literally taking the DirectX shaders and converting them over to Vulkan, which is the open source / OpenGL version competitor to DirectX. And so far, it's had to do this every time that I've had to start the game. It's just as updates happen and things get processed, the computer has to move it or convert it over to something that will run in OpenGL. And sometimes it doesn't get everything.
And sometimes it will say ready to launch and not launch. Yeah, it happens. Usually does work, but but sometimes you run into this. I think that's part of the reason why they have a list of here's the games we actually support with Proton. You can
Mhm.
try it with everything else at your own peril, but
Right, and that's what that tick box says is if you leave it unchecked, you'll only run the ones that they've tested and proven that they'll behave. Whereas if you turn it on, it will attempt it. So none of this is guaranteed. And again, what's guaranteed with Windows? Okay,
Trouble.
always trouble. There we go. Let's see if it will pull the same garbage it was. And this is the other thing I've seen. If you notice the wonderful VHS test splotch,
Mm-hmm.
this is actually Vulkan in the background trying to render something and it failing.
oh wow.
Perfect.
I don't think I've ever seen that before.
Got pretty colors.
Now the game will finish launching. But for some reason in Borderlands 3, I've seen some videos that will do this. Don't know why. But, you know. At least it's playable. We got to move on to a few of the
Does
not
it ever,
so-
I mean, does the video ever like turn into something about the game?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
what it's trying to do is play the intro sequence. They can't, but now that it kicks over to here to the copyright screen. Oh, come on. I know I'm streaming, but
There we go.
play new game. New game. Co-op.
Ah, fancy screen again.
Maybe hit
I
escape
missed
to
the
skip it.
little- I missed the little test pattern with the head of the Native American.
Somebody gave me a JPEG of that at some point. It's like the first time I ever saw that background on there where it's round. Oh, it must be COVID. He's got a mask on.
So when I'm watching it over the stream, it looks halting. As you're
Yeah,
watching it
Yeah.
live, is it smooth?
It's just fine to hear. So it's just the encapsulation.
I imagine Zoom is not doing a good job with that fancy video.
Doesn't look too bad here.
Right, it could be my house, right?
Oh.
I'm seeing it very clearly.
So this is the other thing that I find. There's supposed to be a video here. And it's not rendering.
Well, I see
So-
what looks like a background of smoke and flames, and then you got your test pattern in there again.
So that's the biggest goof that I've seen so far. So let's move on
Games are
to
all
something.
games are all different. They're not you don't
Yeah.
have the same problem with every game, correct?
Right. So the next option, when you leave the wonderful world of Steam, is using Lutris. And Lutris, again, is a fairly simple install. It's just sudo app install Lutris and Win. And what Lutris does is it actually sits on top of Wine, and it will configure Wine to run that application. So what will happen, let's see if I can find a small one.
You just answered my question. I see Mist and Zork.
Well, let's install Real Mist. Now, what I've done here is that I've given it my good old games username and password, so it's pulling from that library. So this is somebody's created a script that will set up Wine in such a way that it'll play that Mist will actually work. So we'll just tell it to install. I give it where I'm going to install it. I have my 2 terabyte SSD set up over here on in Mount. I hit install. Asks if I want any of the extras, and we'll just skip past those for now. And it will download.
So have these games become public domain over the years?
No. So this is good old games, which doesn't have DRM on them, but they're not technically public domain yet.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these might. I think like Tyrant 2000 came with my, when I just signed up with good old games.
And some were abandonware before good old games picked them up.
So is good
Right.
old games, do I have to subscribe to it? Do I have to
No.
pay a fee?
No, it's
No.
more, it's more like Steam, where it's a store that you can
Yeah.
go buy it.
You
They're-
make an
they're
account,
bi-
you get free games.
So here's it's building up the Wine system, and this is actually the good old game installer running in context, in the Wine context, so that it can properly execute. And
I
that's
still
it.
have the DVD for Zork and Mist somewhere. I wonder if they would run in Wine.
Maybe. GOG does do work to make sure that the games can run on modern Windows. So what you have originally might be different from what you get from GOG, and it might be even less likely to run.
Which one is less likely?
The old stuff you have.
Okay. Now you said
I
you had a
assume there's,
2 terabyte disk. How long is this install going to take? A couple of gig?
I think this one's just a few meg because it's Mist.
What is it
I
missing?
assume there,
Sorry.
I assume there's a community to commence
Right.
with and say.
And a
how you
lot
get
of this is, so the other way you install things into Lutris. So this way is via me connecting my good old games account. The other way is to look at their database like we have here. So for me to install Blizzard's BattleNet, I came in here.
I've heard distinctions between they call native Linux games and otherwise.
Mhm.
So the otherwise I assume is the Lutris Wine based.
Yeah.
support, or maybe.
Maybe it's just Blizzard. There's 2 Z's in Blizzard, isn't there?
Yes.
If you had the old DOS game called Spelling Blizzard, you would know that.
So it comes in here, and there's this one entry that says works flawlessly with some minor tweaking. And if you click on this install, it will send a package down it to the Lutris client. It'll ask if you want it as the OpenXDG, and it will throw into here. Where did you? Is it here? Yeah. I'll throw in battle.net. Now, I just told it to start, and I need to go get the password because it doesn't remember the password. Get bored.
Yeah, and you can make your own installer scripts. They're just written in YAML. The documentation on how to do that is kind of hidden, but it's there. And once you get it, if you know YAML, it's fairly easy.
So here's Overwatch. And it's launching.
You sound
Running.
surprised.
Well, it's Blizzard. I'm usually surprised when their products work, let alone in a hostile environment called that it wasn't designed for.
Yeah.
Same thing with StarCraft. I've tested that. That boots up. I have not tried World of Warcraft. Biggest thing is when you get done, you have to tell it to exit out and not go into the taskbar, because this is the wine desktop and it's going to sit there until it thinks that the process is dead. Epic Game Store is the same way. The biggest problem we have, and this is going to be the biggest problem with gaming on Linux, is anti-cheat. Because we are monkeying with the background. This easy anti-cheat is loading. And if I try to start up and connect to a game in Fortnite, it will summarily kick me out because it's not playing exactly how the developers wanted it to play. Because, you know,
You might be cheating. We don't have a DRM on your system to tell us you're not cheating. Therefore, we assume you are.
the real annoying ones is that okay, this is creative, which is non-competitive at all. So
Say again, please.
it's not competitive at all. So anti-cheat shouldn't have any
Anything to say about it. Yeah.
And it's not like, okay, if I have a script running in the background here, that there's going to be anything that gets affected. But let's see if I can get it to boot me. Yes, I know I suck. The dumb thing is I actually bought this game back when it was $60 for the Save the World campaign.
Save
like
the world?
Yeah, see, it's not liking me. Oh wait, I'm probably hitting the edge of the world. When they initially launched it, they had a single multiplayer campaign that you work towards an objective instead of the battle royale that they are. Oh, there it goes.
You know, where everything else was kind of halting, that game was kind of smooth on my display.
Probably a lot less data going through the pipe. Other games are fine. So one of the games I do like playing.
Looked choppy to me. Wow.
So this is an automation / factory game that's been in development forever.
What is a factory game?
You build a factory.
Have you ever wanted the experience of programming, except in 2, maybe 3D, and that you do to relax?
It's a long game. This actually surprised me, is that it actually drug along my.
Drug along what?
My old world. So this is a. Is this?
Seems like I'm getting about 1 frame per second. Is that what it's supposed to do?
No.
Yeah,
Just fine over here.
Yeah, that's Zoom.
Yeah, whatever these games are doing, I'm sure Zoom can't handle that data rate.
Yeah, there's a reason why Twitch is so, well, probably why they have to spend so much on infrastructure.
What's Twitch?
It's a streaming platform for video games mostly.
Oh, I can attach my Humble bundle? I'll have to do that.
Steve, it may not be Zoom. It may be you're in my slow pipe.
Well, yeah, I mean, all I got here is a phone running on Sprint, so God help me. Sprint's about as bad as Microsoft. I think I'm going to try to convert to Ting, but you know, I can't even get to their website at all.
So if the game does not have anti-cheat in it, then my suggestion is you look at Lutris or the Proton DB and see what other people's experience has been so far. These two websites are basically collaborations on getting PC gaming working on Linux. And it's very possible that it's functional. But the biggest problem runs into those applications that have to have it. And that's where the WinApps process is coming in. And this is abusing the fact that Microsoft is lazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard about this one on a podcast not that long ago.
So basically what happens is you install Windows 10, and because Windows 10 and Server 2016 is the same kernel, you hack on the Windows RDP apps, which will allow you to take a computer in the background. So I have Windows 10 here, and not that one. That's a Windows 11.
I didn't know there was a Windows 11.
It was just leaked this past week.
So, for example,
that looks like
June
Windows 10.
June 24th, they're supposed to officially announce it on June 24th. Microsoft is.
Hmm.
So I have a couple brother printers that print labels. Like right now, I'm labeling my hard drives. And I'd like to be able to continue to print labels. And Brother's not going to write this for Linux. So I need to get out of that. And I need to find my notes on how I started this last time. Other? Yeah. I believe it's this one. Oh. So what's happening right now is XRDP, which is the weakest part of this chain, is going to sign in. And there's my ptouch editor in Linux without any desktop around it. All I have to do is have Windows 10 running in the background with me signed out. Haven't gotten to it, but there is a way to do what's called Looking Glass. So for those games like Fortnite, if that's, you have to play that stuff because you're on a team or something, you should be able to take and pass another graphics card into the virtual machine, and then use Looking Glass to pull that display back. It's a complicated mess, and I haven't gotten into it yet. But that makes it so you're running the Fortnite client on Windows on its own dedicated GPU, and it's a virtual machine, and you see it in Linux. So it's gotten a lot better, insanely a lot better in the last 5 years.
Better than what?
Than what it was.
Than it was.
So what did you just say? Fortnite is a virtual machine hypervisor?
It's a video game.
It's a video game. So because Fortnite needs Windows, it needs to be installed in Windows so that it's running with the normal DirectX APIs, and the anti-cheat can do its job, and it doesn't freak out because it's looking at Lutris or Wine instead of you can run a virtual machine with a graphics card passed to it, and then I believe use a program called Looking Glass.
Okay, so you have a virtual machine running on your Linux server to host the Windows OS.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that VirtualBox or is it a different hypervisor?
I installed using KVM.
Okay.
You use this Looking Glass application, it'll pull the.
I don't think that's it.
You don't think that's no? That's
what you're
not
saying
it.
is that Looking Glass allows you to cherry pick the apps rather than having to have the full Windows VM dashboard in your face.
Mm-hmm.
It lets you do the GPU pass-through so that you can get native performance with all you have is a virtual machine. And that's been possible for a while, but Looking Glass makes it easier, is what I hear. And
But it looks to be the goal, and this is just me speculating here, that Steam and a lot of these gaming companies want to be able to write for one code base, but have it running on both Windows and Linux. Because, well,
You're gonna have to have a virtual machine of some sort somewhere.
mainly because Microsoft seems to be going off the rails.
Were they ever on? You know, I mean,
How should I put this? Let me force this to restart.
they've had good days.
They've had some good days, but they've definitely had to. How should my exchange professor put it? They definitely smoke a certain brand up there. We don't know what it is, but they definitely smoke it, and it's fairly good because we can see some really whacked out stuff coming out. And that's the new start menu.
the new what?
Start menu
On Windows 11.
on a Windows 11.
Ooh. I love how they rototill the user interface all the time. You know,
But if you
it just, oh, never mind. I'm just griping.
But you know,
Don't anybody listen.
never get back to, you know, finishing this. That's Windows 2000 control panel. So I would say I'm about halfway through converting most of my stuff over. And it's been fine. This thing boots up so fast, I'm like,
You don't know
if
what to do with yourself.
I blink and it's done booting. Again, I may have bought a 4 gigahertz 12 core processor with a PCIe version 4 SSD, but
What'd you pay for that CPU?
yeah.
Or don't you want to
But
say?
Money.
Yeah.
Real money.
what did I pay for it? MSRP, so it was like $550.
Oh, okay.
I spent another $300 on the motherboard and $200 on the SSD. It's a Samsung Pro 980, 1 terabyte.
Question, why did you go to Linux Mint?
Because you kept on complaining and saying I should go to Linux Mint.
Oh, thank me.
Oh, Stan, you're the one that caused this, huh?
Arch, man, you don't have to worry about all those snaps and stuff. It's just rolling release. Just grab it from the AUR.
Tyler, what's the Looking Glass wiki you've got in the background? I'm trying to find it in Wikipedia, and I'm getting all different. I'm getting Brandy by the Looking Glass. You're a fine girl. What a good wife you would be.
I'll have to go looking for it, but it's
Project Looking Glass.
God,
Thank
that's
you.
an image I didn't want. Sorry.
yeah, this is it.
looking-glass.io.
Well, basically it reaches into the frame buffer of the graphics card that you give to Windows, and it pulls that frame back and displays it in Linux, from what I understand. So, questions, comments, thoughts from the peanut gallery?
I had been hearing that Pop OS was the best Linux distribution to use with gaming, and I'm pleasantly surprised that you've done so well with the Linux Mint. I'm thinking that it's just not getting the Linux Mint. What is it, Cinnamon you're running? It's not getting in your way because you can just do everything, and
Right.
that's the way I've found. And I prefer the Linux Mint Mate, and I don't see that much difference between it and their Cinnamon release. I prefer the Mate because it's older and more traditional, and I fit right in that older and more traditional stuff. How much RAM are you using or have?
I have 64 gig. No, I don't want that. I want that one. Yeah, see, this is the biggest problem right now with this WinApps. It sometimes gives me issues.
Are you finding the Linux, what is it, Windows, Linux layer, whatever they call it, of any use?
Windows subsystem for Linux?
Yeah, that
That is-
thingy.
That's on Windows, not Linux.
Yeah.
I know, but I'm just wondering if you find it any use.
I use it at work to run Linux-only utilities that I need to for my development environment. So, for example, if I need to encrypt an Ansible to password, I have Ansible in my WSL Debian instance, and I just run the command in there like I would in the normal command prompt.
But so far, it hasn't really done anything for you game-wise, because you're running with your KVM, you're able to use the graphical looking glass interface.
Right. Well, with KVM, I just have, or I can use remote app to show the application back like here. Oh, it's
Right.
not responding. And so this is not looking glass. This is XRDP being painful. I'm thinking, just for giggles and grins when I have some time, to try setting up Looking Glass and getting Fortnite to run in the KVM. The biggest problem with that is I need to install a second graphics card into the system and hand that to the Windows 10 host to make that work.
Wow.
So basically, I'm running two PCs on my 12-core processor.
I almost understand that.
Oh,
Almost.
that's scary.
You ever finish? So I have this gist here on GitHub that I'll dump into chat. I'll just keep all my notes in. Maybe I'll even build a Ansible script. That should be a good excuse to learn that language. Too many things open. Go away. That's basically it. You have any more comments, questions?
So you do have to have a licensed Windows 10 to run. You can't do this without a licensed Windows 10 is what I'm trying to say.
90% of this, yes, you can do it without the license.
Okay.
90% of this I'm doing natively within Linux or through the Wine/Proton interfaces.
Yeah.
Only when I actually have to run something specifically in Windows because it does not want to behave on Linux do I need to actually start the Windows VM up and run the application there.
Okay.
And right now, I can use the default paravirtualization that will allow that KVM has to allow Windows to operate only when I want to actually get, super intense graphics cards. So like video game rendering or if I was rendering a file in Premiere, do I need a dedicated graphics card sitting in that?
And even then, the license is probably optional.
Yeah, right now the only thing the license really does is allow you to customize the desktop, which you don't care about if you're always on Linux. At least I wouldn't care.
Yes, I care deeply about what this desktop I see maybe 1% of the time looks like.
Wow. Well, I play adventure and sometimes mahjong, and that's about the extent of what I do.
Are you still trying to make it through the colossal cave, Stan?
I hacked it, so I cheat. Raise it. You go into a strings in a hex editor, and you can hack it.
Yeah, it's still text oriented, right? It's not graphic.
Right. I love that.
And where did you get your source code? I mean, what platform do you play it on?
It's available out. I play it on Linux. It's available in the BSD games that are in the archives.
Yeah, that tells me which version you're playing.
Yeah,
there's kind of I delved into that a year and a half ago, whatever. There's some websites where you can play it on the web, and it's graphics in the sense that it has a map, and as you textually navigate through the cave, the X marks the spot on the map follows you through the cave.
Right, and that's using actually that's using a Linux-based Splunker tool for mapping caves. That was developed a couple years ago. And used to do caves when I was a kid, when I could still fit sideways through Bat Cave there at the park outside Merrimack Caverns, which they have since walled off that cave. Although
I forget during my research, I mean, they attributed that the adventure game as being the Genesis game in the role-playing game, the interactive role-playing game, not so much the multi-user, but the interactive role-playing game.
beyond that became too complicated for me. My son got into MUDs, and I'd go into the room and watch him play, and his fingers never left the keyboard, and the stuff would just stream by, and I couldn't even tell what the heck he was doing in the mud. Too fast.
Like you said, Adventure is kind of open source. It's easy to get a hand on a copy. The Zork series of games is a little more difficult to get a copy of. Zork 0, Zork 1, Zork 2. The Return to Zork was the first video game. That's why I saw it in Tyler's presentation.
Right.
Not that it was the first. Return to Zork was the first video expression of the Zork universe.
My son and my late wife used to play video games constantly. I think at one time we had more than $800 worth of purchased games, about $50 to $60 a whack.
Yike.
Yep.
So there's one other thing.
There was one that was really interesting. I mean, it was called The Incredible Machine.
I remember that one.
Yeah, I mean, it was a game like other games. It was a puzzle more than a game.
There was one video game I could never get past the first 3 minutes. It ran off of the quarter machines at the video place, and I never got past $1.25. Usually died within the first 25 cents.
So the other thing I also do a lot is play Minecraft mods. So Minecraft itself is just Java. So all you do is install their client and they'll run it. For mods, there used to be, or in Windows, there's this thing called CurseForge that will download all the mods and set it up properly. That's really not an option, or it won't work here on Linux. So there is another application called Multi-MC that's been around forever. And if you go find the actual mod definition, so you have to go find one and find the file, so you get this download link instead of the install link, and create an instance, and then you tell it to import it from the zip that you just download. Where did I go? So this file here, and you will read that zip file, which will have all the configuration in it, and pull down all the mods. So if you have a kid that wants to play a specific modded version of Minecraft, or you do, have way too much fun with Redstone. Once it's down, you just tell it, Tell it to start. And yes, you probably need to give it a lot more memory, but if you play Minecraft mods, you know how much memory hungry that bloody thing is. I swear. I've never seen such a leaky application as Minecraft when you have hundreds of mods installed. Mainly because all it takes is one of those mod writers to create a bad chunk of code and they will take the entire stack down.
Mm-hmm.
How many times did I crash that server with Archimedes? 4 or 5 times at least. There's a mod that you could create. You could convert blocks in the game into a Zeppelin.
What?
And if you didn't dismount it properly, it, how should I put it? It would crash the whole world. Plus it played with how people moved around on it because it was weird. That's my 10 cents. It's a lot easier these days.
Wow. It is a big improvement. I mean, I don't do that much gaming stuff, so, but yeah, this is a lot easier than I remember it.
I'm
But-
probably gonna also validate this on my old system to make sure that I'm just not a fluke here, because I completely admit that this may be because Tyler lucked out with the hardware he installed or has. But yeah, I plan on keeping this just updated with my notes. Where did I stick that?
It's on my system too, so I don't think it's just you.
In your opinion, where does the gaming industry need to go with Linux? Are they making sufficient progress? And
With the introduction of Vulkan, which is a competitor to DirectX, a lot of things get a lot better because it's not illegal to literally implement Vulkan inside of your Linux drivers. You don't have to go through so much interpolation, reverse engineering and interpolation to get things to behave. The next thing is getting enough, how should I put this, pressure on game design studios to make it so that their anti-cheat systems understand when their games are running on Linux and not to flag it. That's a political battle that they're going to have to fight with. I much rather prefer to run it all natively within Linux, but that means people have to actually, write the Linux client. Valve is doing a lot in leaps and bounds making that available. Basically,
is there enough
Valve
demand in the from Linux to make it worth their while to write the stuff?
Well, that's the biggest problem. So if I pull back,
Not really.
let me pull
Like-
up Steam.
Yeah, we're like
Because if they,
2% of the Steam users, which, yeah, it's nothing to sneeze at, but if you're looking at everyone else, oh, yeah, 98% don't use it.
I thought
so
Steam was
West
written
version.
specifically for Linux. Not that I
No.
follow that at all.
No, but Steam is specifically trying to make it so that their stuff runs on Linux. So you can see here under Linux, we have total just under 1% of the market. Most of this being either Arch or
Ubuntu.
Debian flavors of Linux. Whereas
Look-
Windows has 96.1. Of course,
but
this
look
all
at
could.
I mean,
Go ahead.
OS X got 2%. That's you got all the same problems with OS X that you've got with Linux, right? That it's
Right.
not Windows.
And that's why I think the Vulkan development is probably going to be the biggest hurdle / breakwater, because Microsoft will never let go of DirectX. DirectX will always be a Windows only library, and all these games are built to render via DirectX. Now with Vulkan, you can run it on OS X or Linux. The biggest issue with OS X is that OS X only runs on Apple hardware, and trying to render anything quickly I haven't actually seen the benchmarks on the M1 for video rendering, but with them moving to ARM, that means not only do you have to move the compile, so instead of compiling for x86, you're now compiling for ARM. And that was the biggest thing with OS X. I mean, it was just BSD with Apple's flavors on it. Which reminds me, I do have OS 10 running on this too. How did I start that thing?
Yeah, but I think Apple's being even more hostile to games than Linux has been. So that's why Proton not for Apple stuff.
And I think most of what that is they want everything going through the iTunes store instead of being able to
download Steam and install it that way. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have to go and run cd/mount.
I'm looking at the graphic you've got up there under the Linux column, and I'm just kind of surprised that they list Ubuntu and Linux Mint as two separate OSs. I mean, they are, but they're both DEBs, right? I mean,
They probably just ask for like the uname string, grab that and list that.
I mean, I get maybe Manjaro. I mean, Arch Linux is kind of different, right? It's not.
Yeah, it's different
not,
package manager, different install process. Manjaro is a fork of Arch. It's not like it's all based off of Debian.
That's what I'm saying. So there's kind of three, right? There's the RPMs, the DEBs, and the Arches.
Yeah, something like that. The Pac-Mans.
I mean, Gen 2 was another one that's kind of its own flavor.
Oh yeah. Repos, what are repos? You compile your own source here.
So, Tyler, do you consider yourself happier with the Linux setup than you do game-wise than you did with the Windows garbage?
Okay. You look down there and, oh, look, there's an update. It's actually telling me what I'm updating.
It's just we
Oh,
have
also, it's also not going to tell me, yeah, I have to install them right now. The system
All right.
boots up way faster. I'm pretty sure 80% of that is because it's Debian. It's not Windows. It's not loading every piece of Windows DLL that's been written for the last 2 decades. Oh, yeah, this is it.
Do you have to load every DLL to get it to run? Is that part of what's going on?
Nobody knows.
Yeah. So, it's much more compatible with me doing my Linux or Python development. It's much easier to do things like this, where if I need to, I can start up a Mac OS virtual machine and run tests, my software in that machine. Because heaven knows somebody's going to ask me about it.
Yeah.
Right.
What else? I mean, I've been off of the Microsoft apps as much as possible for the last 4 years. I mean, it's just these onesie twosies applications that's like, oh, that's kind of odd.
So
I need to find.
You're running your Mac OS in a VM again, is that right? Under the KVM?
You're watching it boot right now.
Where did you get the image? I mean, since Apple's proprietary, where did you go get the Mac OS install media?
I may have found somebody's
The same place he got the leaked Windows 11.
Yeah.
No, actually there was a you run this jumpstart.sh off of this after cloning this, build a disk to install into, and you boot it. And the script goes and gets the image out of the it knows where the, let's see here, tools, jumpstart.
Oh, so KVM helped you. It went and knew where to get it from.
The script knew where to get it from. So tools, fetch Mac OS, fetch Mac OS. Apple.catalogs.others.index. There's the CVN right there.
Yeah, I mean,
it literally downloaded from Apple and says, yeah, I agree. Apple will probably never find me, but yeah, I agree.
I mean, Apple has less of an interest in keeping their OS proprietary because it only runs on, like you said, on Apple hardware. I mean, no one in their right mind, other than us guys,
That's insane.
will run out there on all of these different PC manufacturers, but Apple can make their money by continuing to sell Apple hardware.
I haven't played that much with this. But yeah,
How
Apple's
much
just
of how much of their money comes from hardware anyway? I wonder.
most of it, but they're trying to transition over to services, from what I understand. They want you that monthly $10 for Apple Music that you would pay for instead of Spotify. I just ignore it when I have to look at my emails on my iPhone.
Yeah.
Well, not just the music, the cloud, right? They charge you for their cloud services.
Mhm.
The iPhone's free, but to store stuff in the cloud, you have to pay a monthly subscription rate.
Yeah. Guys, I'm going to have to get off here. My battery is shot. I spent too many hours on hold with Sprint today.
So Steve, is it an iPhone or is it an Android?
My phone's is an Android, but my problem is Sprint.
No, your problem's T-Mobile.
Well, yeah, T-Mobile. My problems all started approximately one day after T-Mobile bought Sprint.
Well, isn't there a little 6-foot length of cable that you can use to correct this problem?
Yeah, I just plugged it in, but I can't see the screen. But watching these desktop windows on a 2x3-inch screen, it leaves a little bit to be desired anyway.
We'll have the recording up in a couple of days.
All right.
So, can normal game players handle this stuff well? I haven't done any of this ever, and it looks
Well,
like
I mean,
magic to me.
with Steam, it's software manager.
It's just
Steam.
like a store,
Go-
more or less.
You go in here to Steam and you hit install instead. It'll be install instead of launch,
Right.
and then you
Right.
flip this one setting and you go down to settings and you say enable Steam Play for all other items and give it a default version. And
you can also just only search for stuff that runs natively in Steam and play that.
so yeah, I could go in here and say,
I occasionally hear about free games, for 2 or 3 days. They'll say, this game's free for the next 2 days or something like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
My problem is vertigo. I can't watch some of this stuff. My son used to play
They
these
removed
games.
that tag.
Yeah,
My,
I think you have to go into a store.
Yeah, my
and
son
search
would
that
play these
way.
games, and I'd go into the room and watch him for 2 minutes and get so violently ill I'd have to leave. I can't even do a merry-go-round anymore.
So Tyler, you lost me. What you're browsing right now, are you on your Linux machine or your Macintosh?
Linux machine.
This is the Steam libraries on your Linux machine. Okay.
That's interesting. I thought they had a whole curated section for all Linux ready machines.
Maybe categories? Yeah, over special sections.
SteamOS plus Linux. So yeah.
Once upon a time, they did make their own distribution, and they still brand everything with it.
So yeah, basically everything here should run from get-go. So for example, my brother's playing this game all the
1400
bloody time.
454 Linux games, right?
Mhm.
1449.
So where can I find the Leisure Suit Larry series?
I'm sure GOG
Probably
has
on
it.
good.
Yeah, but I think Steve might have the remake. Nope.
Or who was the other guy, the Star Trader, or the Space Explorer? What was his name?
StarCraft?
No, he was kind of a. It was. I mean, Leisure Suit Larry was a lounge. what was
Lounge
he?
Lizard, yeah.
Lounge lizard. But there was another guy who was more of a, Jake of Star Command or something.
It's not Monkey
Space
Island.
Patrol, Star Patrol.
Yeah, something like Star Patrol.
I don't know what shop did Leisure Suit Larry come out of? Did he come out of Sierra or Infocom?
Sierra. Now, the one that really surprised me is I got Cyberpunk 2077 to run. Yep, there's all.
Why was that surprising?
It doesn't run on Windows all that well.
It's a brand new release that is notoriously buggy.
So where are you finding all this Leisure Suit Larry stuff? Just on Larry's own website or in GOG? Okay.
And it's saying it'll run natively in Linux. They probably ported they've ported the Scrum or the Scum VM process. Yeah, you can buy it right here. It says it's.
What about Tomb Raider? I forgot about her.
Yeah, they've got her. They even have the new ones.
For a whole
Yeah.
$2. Windows only, but I wouldn't be surprised if Lutris.
So the Lutris version of Tomb Raider will run on Linux.
So Lutris is a launcher for it. It basically runs again another wine compatibility layer, and
Yeah.
it has installer scripts. But yeah, looks like it.
So there's a wine. Basically, what happens is it's storing all the tested methods of making the game run properly. So if I was to buy this, no, you don't get to see my password.
Darn. Is it password?
No, It's whatever random garbage bit what Oregon comes up with.
Password 123.
That is a valid combination that may come up.
Wow. Can the steering committee reimburse Tyler for the cost of this game?
I mean, it's a whole $1.39.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that might put us into the red.
Where is the steering committee getting its infinite supply of resources from?
That's classified.
The corporate sponsorships?
Classified.
That
Get your own printing press in the basement?
I just can't say it's that new printer we got.
Inkjet.
I was remarking to Gary that they don't seem to have the little plastic strips in the $20 bills anymore, do they?
I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen a 20.
When I used to work down at the new federal building downtown, every time I went to this quick shop across the street, I got real fuzzy looking $5 bills and change.
So this is one of the ones that may have different ways of installing it. I'll just go with this one. I'll do
looks like
install.
that also grabs like a mod or something.
Oh, the Journeyman project. Boy, I remember that one.
Yeah, Beneath the Steel Sky. That's one that comes with free with GOG, just for signing up. I have no mouth and I'm a scream. That's on GOG.
I'll also remind you that if you're prompted with where you want to install this, it's just best to accept the default. I'm one of those.
It's going on to the wine, yeah.
C:\Windows.
So,
Exactly.
Or C:\program files.
starting.
I see these two called Puzzle Agent. Does anybody know anything about those? I see Tales of Monkey Island.
All the classics, or at least many of them.
But what was Puzzle Agent? I never played that one.
Probably one of those. Find the X in the
Escape from the locked room.
yeah. Now, I will say there's one annoying thing that has been bugging me, and that's with the sound. When my monitor goes to sleep, or I switch to my other computer inside of the with the keyboard, video, and mouse switch, I switch back. She won't resume back onto the right monitor. I know it's just an annoying little bug that I expect certain behavior from Windows, and doing that with did we? We are.
Yeah, is Doom on GOG or is that just Steam? Or is that all now whatever Bethesda's doing with their launcher?
Which
Oh,
version
there we
of Doom?
go. OG, yeah, there we go. The ultimate version. Yep, that probably runs no problem.
Come on, where did it go? Something's got stuck. Where haven't you started?
All right, I've got to call it at night. Thank you all.
Yeah.
Thanks, James.
Good night.
See you later.
Good night.
Thanks for stopping by, James.
He's gone.
Likewise. Gotta go. Thanks, guys.
Welcome.
Oops, who was that? Didn't notice.
I think that was Jonathan S.
Ah. Jonathan, thanks for coming if you're still here.
He's gone.
He's gone.
Uh, this is annoying. Something's got stuck. XG. Excuse me while I randomly kill stuff.
Murderer.
Do you look at what it is before you kill it?
Yeah. The biggest problem is I got so many. What I've also seen is sometimes it will, something will try to start, and it will then get stuck, and then now you're running two versions of an application that wait, what's this? Don't need that. You can go away. Need that terminal. Nice to know that you're finally moving your files. File server. That's you guys. Don't want to kill it yet.
Maybe it's running over on Windows 11.
Kill OBS and see what happens. Yes, force quit the application.
Whoa. Just stuck my nose out the back door. Boy, it's hot out there. Oof.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
I'll have to fight with it and see if I can report back. Again, it's not perfect yet. See, that one just loaded right up.
Boy, at high definition, the pixelization just looks a little grainy.
Or is that just the animation from this?
That's this game.
Wow.
Like 8-bit.
The funny thing is, this was made in 2012. This was an actual art choice.
Looks more like the 1980s.
Oh yeah, there's been some. There have been some games that have actually making the conscious choice to
Retro.
Well, even
Right.
Minecraft kind of blocky.
right. So instead of
Ouch.
Boy, what about Frogger?
I'll see you guys.
yeah,
Take care, Jonathan.
Good night, Robert.
See you around.
Man, I'm gonna have to go too, guys. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.
Good night, Steven.
Night, Steve.
All right.
Ooh. It's the Borg.
Yeah.
You were mentioning what anti-cheat hardware or anti-cheat features.
Anti-cheat software is probably the biggest barrier right now on Linux, because we are emulating / substituting the normal DirectX APIs, and
Yeah.
anti-cheat software just does not like that.
So I guess anti-cheat software has its place in a multiplayer game.
Right.
Is there any reason for anti-cheat software in a game like this one? You know?
No, that's why it's working just fine. It doesn't care other than it's rendering the appropriate image on the screen.
Okay, and I don't understand Stanford's point of why would it be in a multiplayer game that you...
So the anti-cheat is there to prevent people from introducing their own code into the actual game to allow them to
in a
give them
multiplayer
a
game. Yeah, in a multiplayer game, you guys you're competing for resources and competing for points, and you damage each other, and so you don't want somebody going behind the scenes and giving himself an unfair advantage.
Okay.
But in a single player game, it's like, what do you mean? I mean, yes, we have all these cheats for these puzzle games where you just jump straight to the end of the maze, but that's just on you. You know, that just kind of spoils the fun of the game.
And that's a functionality in DirectX?
It watches the game has to watch into it has to watch the DirectX and files. And instead of the file behaving exactly like it should, it's because basically they've reverse engineered DirectX to create Proton and Wine. And when it doesn't behave just right, it thinks what's happened is the user, you have altered the DirectX files to gain an advantage. So then it says you're gone, and that's how they prevent people from creating bots or a hack that will allow you to see through opaque material. I believe that's called X-ray.
Oh, wow.
Stuff like that.
Okay.
So until these companies actually build a functional Linux client game / client, the anti-cheat is going to sit there and go, no, you're screwing with DirectX, go away.
Yeah.
And it's just annoying.
Interesting.
The funny thing is that somehow Steam, mainly because Steam is building Proton, they have multiplayer games that work just fine.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if Fall Guys plays nice. installing easy anti-cheat service. Step 1 of 1. Anybody want to bet I'm going to get kicked out? And it opens in the wrong monitor again.
I see Tron listed there. Did anybody ever really make a video game named Tron?
Yeah. There was a Tron video game next to. At least they are nice about this one.
To what extent?
Take a snapshot.
You say they're
of it.
nice. You say they're nice. To what extent are they nice?
Hey, Tyler, why are you saying they're nice?
Hold on. It's opened up on the other monitor, so I need to take a screenshot of it. Capture in. Let's go drawing. At least it says I can't get the anti-cheat software to work.
Okay. All right.
Instead of just booting you straight out of the game, he goes, I can't initialize anti-cheat.
Okay.
And it won't let me go anymore further. So, yeah. Let's see here, this is a big one. Let's go with Vulkan. Oh, this is gonna be. I really find it interesting the times that you say, "Okay, install," and it goes, "I'm gonna install Visual C++." Like, yeah. Good luck with that. We'll just lie. Now, if I can only get my work to actually produce a good Linux version of Solid Edge.
Oh, I'm looking on the GOG site, the OpenTTD. What did that? The Transport Tycoon?
Yeah.
I forget what the D was.
I don't remember either.
Deluxe. Transport Tycoon Deluxe.
Deluxe. Only other thing I could think of doing is, streaming, playing games on this PC and noting when things crash.
Trying to, well, I was going to say the Linux kernel never crashes. I was going to say that. The most severe crash I have is when the the GUI locks up, the shell, you know, the either GNOME or KDE.
And I've had only once I've gotten in a position where the entire game froze on me.
And it buried the OS in the dirt too.
Yes. And that was with Evil Genius. I had to change what version of Proton it was running on. So yeah, is it point and click? No, we're nowhere near that. Is it functional with a small amount of tweak? Definitely. Oh, you just don't want to start at all. See, this is when you go, okay, Proton. And it's borked.
What is?
Does that mean it used to work? Then it quit working?
No, it just stopped. They never got it to work. And again, it looks like it's anti-cheat.
Oh, certain games are marked as borked.
Yeah. So if you look at here, there's a 3 statuses or 6 statuses: borked, bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and native. Native is it runs natively. Dig into here. Rocket League runs natively. Sid Meier Civilization 6, which I own, that runs natively. Dyson Sphere program, which
What does
I've
that mean?
been,
That it runs natively.
it means it's a Linux application. There's no translation needed.
You can, in other words, you can get it for, because I thought Civilization was a Windows game, but you can also get the Linux version of it.
Let's go down here and
Is it under Sid Meier's instead of Civilization? SID or just look Civ?
I see it right there. Sid Meier's Civilization Beyond Earth Complete.
2, 3, 4 different versions.
Yeah.
oh yeah, I mean,
Oh wow.
see, it didn't process any shaders. It jumped right into loading the game by natively. I guess that's the biggest thing that we as a people can do is we can support those companies that go through and say, "Oh yeah, we'll build it on Linux." At least for people like me who play games.
And this is you're in the GOG store, or which store are you in?
Steam.
Steam store. Okay. Oh, what were there was a couple of submarine games. One was called Aces of the Deep. The other one was just called what, Sub Hunter? Or
Oh shit.
Oregon Trail, there was another one. So I've been spending the last few minutes on the GOG website. Is there where's the top level of all the Steam repositories? Is it steam.org or is it
Steampowered.com, I believe is.
Ten-minute warning, folks. We don't have to leave, but traditionally, I like to announce 10 minutes before 9.
So
It
yes,
must
if
be
you want to look at the Steam store, you can. It's steampowered.com.
Yeah.
You can take the boy out of the library, but you can't take the library out of the boy.
Looks like there's some fudging I would have to do, but she boots up.
Which one are we? Oh, Civilization. Okay.
Oh. Okay. Is this one play native? another one that's
So now I'm on the steampowered.com site and I'm looking at all the games, and it looks like the icon is either a Windows or an Apple. Which games are Linux?
so. If you go into categories and you select SteamOS plus Linux.
Okay, where's I'm in categories pull down. Where's the Linux?
SteamOS plus Linux. It's on the left under special selections.
Oh, there it is. Thanks.
And it's not actually the Penguin you're looking for. You're looking for the Valve gear because they still brand it as SteamOS.
So is that I couldn't see what that icon is. That's I don't. To me, it looks like a microphone in a circle, but
it's a piston gear.
Okay.
Then over here, you can narrow it down by tag. So War Thunder, Civ, Stellaris. Never heard of this one. Nemesis, Zomboid, Overcooked.
So I'm not finding what I want under Steam. Back on the GOG, if it's GOG, if you get the GOG engine, all of these GOGs will run. It doesn't. I don't have to look for an icon that says Windows only or Linux compatible or.
I would look at the Lutris.
Okay, go to the Lutris site rather than the GOG site.
Yeah, to confirm that the so with GOG, I would go to Lutris to see if it's compatible, if there's a known good configuration. So, for example, Tomb Raider was being weird on us. Wrong Tomb Raider. So you'll have these other ones. So this is via GOG and the GG Voodoo. Once I have it in my GOG library, you'll click on it, kick it, it'll kick a request over to here. And then, yeah, it will tell me to. Basically, what Lutris is doing is it says, I've figured out how to get this to run on wide. Here's how you configure it. And it'll go get all the required files to do so. At least it's supposed to work. You know how things are with
what is GOG?
Good old games. Basically, somebody wanted to be able to sell games like Steam, but without the DRM. And so they started with all the old games that nobody cared about.
Yeah, all the good old games, right?
Wow, is this DOS?
Which one of you look? What did you launch? Core design. But what is it? What game did you click on?
This is Tomb Raider 2. That's a big dragon.
Why are there never little dragons?
I mean, with this opening, I would have never guessed it was Tomb Raider.
It's ancient China. What did you expect?
Is this just a opening or is it part of the game?
I'm guessing it's the game opening.
It's probably a soundtrack that says, "Before the beginning of things, once when there were dragons in the world, there lived a man, and you have become that man. Welcome to Dragon Slayer."
Hey, Gary,
Sounds like he has a blowtorch.
Gary, if you want some little dragons, you should read some of the Anne McCaffrey books.
Anna Catherine?
Anne McCaffrey.
Anne McCaffrey. Okay.
She's passed away now, but she had a whole bunch
Just
of
post
books.
it in the chat window, Gary Keefspell.
Where's the chat window?
Is that voice I hear talking coming from the game?
Oh, it uses the arrow keys instead of, Alt to jump.
Bless you.
Bless you. Interesting view.
Gonna be stupid to me.
Hmm.
Yes. Close. Oh yeah. It's not perfect, but hey. I bet you it's probably that painful on Windows right now because that's an old DOS game.
Hmm.
You got it. Well, I need to go eat something.
Yeah, I'm at the Lutris site and I just clicked on Mist and then it says it's written with a blah, 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 blah requires the Mist Masterpiece Edition DVD. So it's like, it'll run it, but you better have the DVD. Is that what it's telling me?
So each one of these are different install methods. So see how this one says GOG plus SCUM VM version?
Oh, okay.
And this is the Steam Proton version.
I was looking at
so
the
if
one
I click
above
on
it.
this one,
Yeah.
I can, oh, I already have it installed, so.
All right, so yeah, the one above it is the DVD version. This is the GOG, but SCUM version. This is the Proton version. Oh, okay.
So Lutris will have multiple ways of running the game, if possible. You just have to find the version that you have a copy for. And I believe Mist on GOG is like sure only like $1 or $2.
Oh, I see what you mean. You have Lutris, but then you have to go to GOG and get the game.
So you just need to come over here to you'll have to create an account with GOG, pay your $2.50. Once you have Lutris client attached to your GOG account, this link here will instruct it to install the GOG plus SCUM VM version. It's SEUMM. Yeah, what was it? Scripting engine for Maniac Mansion. So even on Windows, the Mist, this version of Mist is actually
Yeah, I mean, I have a Mist DVD somewhere in the house. I don't know if it's the Masterpiece edition.
right.
I think it's the original edition.
Post that to Facebook and say at least they're nice about it. All the other anti-cheat systems just boot you straight out. What did I want?
I guess we put Lee to sleep too, huh?
Probably. Restart. Yeah, go ahead and upgrade. Probably bork the hell out of the VM, but you know, that's why we have VMs. $12 gig. Well, at least it's not the Big Sur.
It's a little upgrade.
I mean, guess I can't complain. Windows builds starts consuming what, 20 gig now?
So what this is a 12 gig upgrade to your Mac OS?
Yeah, my Mac OS VM reached out and saw that there was a upgrade to Big Sur available and said, "You want to upgrade?" Just like you would on a normal Mac. But yeah, from what I understand, I mean, Apple, they want you buying games from here.
They do or do not?
They do.
Why? Why do they watch?
Why do they want? That
Yeah.
juicy 30%.
Oh.
Oh, this is the Apple Store. Okay.
It is?
Mhm.
Oh, I see. Red, yellow, green. Yeah. Apple crap.
I think we all missed it. How did we wind up at the Apple Store?
Oh, I popped open the VM and told it to download Big Sur. And it's Control something G, but like makes it let go.
Oh, Big Sur, the release of Mac OS. I hate that. Stupidest thing Apple ever did. Operating systems have numbers, not friggin' names. It's just crazy.
Yeah, how can you tell whether or
Blame
not
Android.
Big Sur comes before or after Little Typhoon?
Yeah.
Well,
Don't know.
if you're part,
At least
if
with
you're
the
part of
Android, it
it-
was all alphabetical.
if you're part of that culture, you just buy whatever comes next. You don't care.
How do you know what comes next?
Yeah, I
They
mean,
charge
the
you
Mint,
for it.
the Mint people are doing both, aren't they? I mean, Mint 19 was T, and Mint 20. No, Mint 20 is the 20th letter in the alphabet, so it's T. Terrible Tara or something.
Well, they've been going alphabetical for years.
Yeah, but what are we? I mean, but Mint 19 was an S, and then Mint 20 is a T, and then Mint 21
No,
will be
it
a
wasn't.
U.
No, it was not an F. It was names are all with code names are all S. So, I do believe, but I never paid attention to the damn code names. Some people did.
Well, what am I thinking of? Ubuntu then? Which one had like Terrible Tara and then Ultimate Unicorn and
All I know is Debian's all Toy Story characters.
Yeah.
all right.
Which I mean, Sid is always the development branch. I think Buster was the last version.
I believe that was 10. Buster 10, I think.
So the graphic you have up now, OS, Linux, Mint, resolution, this, DE, Cinnamon, MW, Mutter. MW is the window manager. What is
I guess.
DE? Desktop environment,
Desktop
I guess?
environment.
Okay.
And Mutter
yeah.
is something to do with X Windows.
I
the
should know
composite.
this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What's the difference between a desktop environment and a window manager?
The Windows Manager, as I understand it, is the thing that puts all the X stuff together so it displays the graphical buffer area. Everything is created in a buffer area.
You're right, Stan. I mean, one's a window manager and the other one's a desktop environment. But I tend to think of them as they're either both KDE or they're both GNOME. I mean,
well, the
window manager has all the decorations for the window, but the
right.
desktop environment has to do with what the start
your menuing, your menu system, then your file manager, whether it's Sundar or
right.
Kaja and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I got a question
I don't
for
want to
you
say
guys.
it's a subset. It's the next layer. The desktop layer sits on top of the window manager layer. Is that what I'm saying? Is that right?
Yes.
But typically, if you get a KDE window manager, you're going to get a KDE desktop. If you get a GNOME window manager, you're going to get a GNOME desktop. Which then usually implies whether you're going to get Nautilus or Dolphin. And all the Ks.
Isn't that fun?
Oh.
Come on, folks.
So Stan, you're a big advocate of Linux Mint, but which one of the window managers and desktops do you foist on your new people?
I prefer the Mate, but that's my personal thing, and it depends on the individual, whether they're somebody that's been running Windows XP or Windows 7 forever. I think the Mate, the layout is very nice. The newer, if you're ignorant, totally all around, the Cinnamon's okay, and that's only because everything you're going to see is going to be geared toward descriptions. It'll display the Cinnamon environment. And alternately, the Ubuntu-Mate thing is for somebody that's more of a power user the kind of person that it depends on the mentality of that person. If I dig into it,
is Mate the XFCE window manager? Or
no. XFCE is yet another graphical layout. It's in the Linux Mint. In the Linux Mint world. It's the one that uses the least resources.
That's the one I like.
And the Mate is a little more resource intensive, and the Cinnamon uses the most resources. So it also depends on it. The Mate. It also depends on what kind of hardware somebody's got, how much RAM and so forth, what kind of experience you're going to have with it. And
is Mate kind of KDE based?
Say again.
Is Mate KDE based or GNOME based?
No,
or neither?
No, it's GNOME. It's GNOME based. It's more GNOME based than anything else, actually. But,
I
you know.
went through that once. I sat there and went through all their demos and said, I like this look and feel. But I basically picked, yeah, I usually have old hardware, so I want the lightest weight.
That'll be the XKE. And you know, personally, I don't find that much difference between all three of them, actually. You know, but that's because I've been around forever and have been using everything since, you know, forever, way back when.
I find the GNOME is a pretty heavy weight.
Yeah, it is compared to what it used to be.
If you have the horsepower for it, yeah, it's rich and full featured, and you just start typing and it does what you want and whatever. But you do a PS and you're going to be there all day waiting for it to scroll through the GNOME part of the PS listing.
Well, it's Bob Hanson, but typically a window manager, if you have a window manager desktop, it cuts the screen up into windows, but you can't pick them up and move them around. You don't do it with a mouse. But the advantage is you can move from one window to another with the key.
Yeah, it's not so much the window manager. My objection is like Stan was saying, it's the desktop environment. The GNOME desktop environment just starts a whole bunch of stuff in your system tray. It just eats up your resources.
If depending on your window manager, sometimes
you might want to mute before you blow.
Sorry.
With your window manager, you can pick which applications you use. If you like a certain terminal window or a certain, like if you like Nautilus or if you like Thunder or if you like something else or Dolphin or whatever, you can pick all these and you can pick and choose your own and kind of build your own set of applications that go with it. But if you have a window manager, you don't see the background like you see with all your screens, because the window manager eats up the whole screen. And then if you open another window, it'll typically like cut it in half, and you'll be able to move it between one and the other. And so a way I can grab the screen, I can show you a little. Or I don't know who's got the screen now. What have I got?
We're coming to the end of the world.
Can you see that now?
We've talked about the different file managers that the different desktops prefer. What about when it comes to browsers? It's like, oh, no, that's totally up to you. The desktop environment does not imply a browser. You're still left to install whatever browser you want.
Okay,
well, they did come with defaults. They all do.
Did I grab the screen, or can you see what's on the screen?
You're talking now. You're talking. Nobody is sharing their screen. It's all by who's talking.
Yeah, the KDE desktop tends to come with the Conqueror browser, but it may not be the default browser.
Robert, if you want to share your screen, you have to go down to the bottom with your mouse and click on the green button that says share screen.
I thought I did.
No.
Optimize screen sharing. Share. There's a share. Come on, mouse.
Somebody's making a game called Lawn Mowing Simulator.
Okay, get up my screen, grab hold. Is there a green screen you're looking at?
Well, you're sharing something.
Okay, if you have a window manager,
it's herringbone, but yeah.
If you like, I brought up a terminal.
Yeah, I see the terminal now.
Now, if you up in my upper left-hand corner, it says Max. You can choose different types of things, and I've got a different ones. And I've got what's called the Monotail, which is usually the one where you got a big screen on the left and some on the right, you got others. And you can move from one, see the yellow, how the yellow moves from one to the other?
Okay, I see how the yellow moves from one to the other. I don't see that where you said go up to the upper left-hand corner and it says max. I don't see
No,
that.
it says Monotail right now.
Monotail?
Monadtail. What do you see
Nope,
in the upper
here's the
left-hand
problem.
corner?
The problem
I
is
don't
once
see
you
anything
say
in the upper
share
left-hand
screen-
corner.
Once you say share screen and you pick on an application in the share screen, you don't get the window manager. You get what's inside the window.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I can start killing off screens like that.
You may have to go back and unshare your screen and share your entire desktop.
I've got to stop share at the very top of my window.
You know, what did you choose to share? Did you choose to share your entire desktop or a particular application?
Actually, my screen came up and down in the lower right-hand corner, and there was a blue button that said share, and that's how I got it.
That's okay. You're not answering Stan's question.
Okay.
Yeah, when I click on just a minute, I did it again. When I click on share, it says, yeah, what do you want to, well, yes, there's a blue share button, but before that, there's a bunch of icons that I have to select which one I want to share. Although it looks like the desktop is highlighted by default.
Right. And if you don't have a bunch of windows open, you only got one or two things to share anyway.
Am I still on the screen, or did I click the stop?
No, you're not sharing, Bob.
Okay, let's just.
I'm going to try and share something just a minute here. Although when I do this, I'm going to have to log out because every time I share, I can't stop sharing. Now, when you see my desktop, do you even see my whole navigation bar, including the whole, the full Zorin OS title bar?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow, I was able to stop sharing without having any trouble. That was cool.
Ooh.
Well, thank you very much, Tyler. I'm ready to play a game.
I kind of think we've burnt the candle at both ends here, folks. About time to call it a night.
But it has been a good night. Learned all kinds of little good tricks.
And make sure Tyler gets reimbursed for his expenditures.
That's right.
I think Tyler was getting hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I wonder about the developers on Steam. Somebody's making a lawn mowing simulator.
Lawnmower
I'm sitting
man.
here. I sit here. Okay, maybe I understand why somebody would maybe want to do like farm simulator because that's somewhat strategic about how to run a farm or build a farm. And then they go and make goat simulator. I'm like, okay, that's just one of those joke games where you do it for streaming. But lawn mowing simulator.
Well,
If I want to know how a lawn mowing happens, I'll go do it myself.
Well, it's better than watching the grass grow.
I just use the goat simulator to be the lawn mowing simulator. That's what goats are for.
Oh boy.
Oh well.
Good night,
guys.
folks. Good night.
All righty.
I'm
Thanks. all.
shutting.
I-
I'm shutting it down in 5 minutes.
Oh gosh. Okay. Anybody
We
have
have-
anything else that we need to deal with, or are we ready to shut down?
I think everybody's fallen asleep. There's just Gary, myself, and Jonathan Drews, and I think Jonathan is probably out feeding the cat.
Yeah, I think Stanford and
No, I'm here,
There-
Stan.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Any questions before we shut this down, Jonathan?
No, I enjoyed the video game presentation.
Gives you a good idea of how far along they've come. It's come quite a bit in the last 5 years. It's phenomenal how much progress they've made. And I've been kind of watching it from afar because I don't play these games. I just, and even I think Linus Torvalds says that's the driver is game playing. It's either that or pornography. I forget which he said. Whatever. All right.
oh god.
Yeah.
All righty.
So I always enjoy the presentations, Gary and Stan, and thank you. Is Tyler gone?
Yeah, he's gone.
He was good, and you guys always, and Stanford always has good input. But
Yeah.
I got a full plate trying to learn MariaDB and reviewing Corn Shell.
Yeah.
So-
I ran across another database thing that I had not posted. And there's a site for designing your schema graphically online. I need to post that tomorrow.
That would be a big help.
Okay.
You know what?
fiddle with it.
Hey, Stan and Gary,
Yes, sir.
I want to ask both you guys, can you, how should I say, request Susan Hurst to do a presentation on databases?
That's kind of iffy. I know Susan very well. Okay. That's very iffy. I'll talk to her.
Isn't she a database expert?
Pretty much. She's really big into project management lately, but she was, before she got into project management, she was very hot and heavy into database descriptions and whatever. Yeah, she knows a lot about databases. But
what is she, publicity shy or whatever?
let's say personal issues at this point.
Okay.
And it's not shyness, no. Other things. Anyway, yeah.
That would be a big, or Stan, you know about MariaDB, don't you, or MySQL?
I can barely spell it. I have a fascination for databases, but I'm intensely focused on using the database stuff in LibreOffice because of the infrastructure and the forum support and so forth. Right now, our planning schedule report is strictly out of LibreOffice database. It's not even, and it's a flat database. You know, if you go to www.slug.org/planning.pdf, you see the results.
Okay.
And that changes from some days minute by minute, because depending on how many updates I do. And it's whenever we get something scheduled, it goes on that schedule. We get something confirmed, it goes on there. When something's done, it goes on there. I will be updating the report probably tonight or tomorrow to indicate that this meeting is done. And then Gary has to worry about what the next meeting is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the next main meeting, base and main. And
Okay.
it gives me a way to harass him.
All right, Stan, that was, as always, That was great.
Yeah. As I said, in 5 minutes, I'm going to shut it down. I got counting down 1 minute here.
Well, Jonathan, thank you for all the good inputs, both tonight and also on Discuss. Certainly been contributing a lot of good points. So, love.
Yeah, Gary, what's going on is I really want to learn this Maria database.
Mhm.
So I've been in contact privately with Susan Hurst,
Mhm.
and she offered to send me some scripts to populate the databases.
Oh.
And
Well,
that's why
this
I asked
this
both you. Go ahead.
this thing, Jonathan, this thing I'm talking about, I'll post tomorrow. Once you build the schema, it will generate the scripts for you, and it will
Okay.
generate them either Postgres, SQL, or SQLite, and a couple others. MariaDB, I think, also. So it generates scripts once you do the schema right. But I find it doing the schema is a little difficult. Okay, folks, this meeting is over.
All righty, off we go.
Okay, Gary, have a good night. Stan, have a good night.
Good
Robert,
night.
Hanson, have a good night.
Thanks.
Later, guys.
Good night.